Yesterday, we read the play Cannibal Monster. So I want you to take some time to jot down what were some things that you learned after you read the play Cannibal Monster. What continues to stand out after you read that play? So I'm going to put 2 minutes on the timer for you guys to go ahead and jot down your thoughts. So let's see what some of your responses were. So I'm going to give you some time to kind of look at it. So I'd like for you to unmute your mic and either share a little bit about what you wrote or give feedback to any of the explanations that one of your peers gave. So either elaborate and share what you said or add on to what someone else had said, or if you agree or disagree with what someone said, you can go ahead and do so. So unmute your mic. You get chosen. I'd like for you to share out, please. All right, so you wrote on the chat bar that you want to add on to what Julia said because that's true. Okay, what would you like to add on?
So what I think is that when Raven told them not to burn it, it was for a reason. But they didn't listen, and they listened to the brown.
So Stacy is saying what Raven said was wise because they knew that she knew about the cannibal monster, but they chose not to listen. Yesterday, we went over the drama organizer, where we took the play and we kind of filled out this story map, right? So these were some of your responses. The other task that you had was to fill out the evidence within the story that told you where was there proof that when people don't listen to wise advice, bad things might happen. So you guys gave evidence, and this is some of the evidence that I heard from you.
Brown Bear and the people follow Raven's advice and kill the cannibal monster.
So today we're going to be focusing on this craft question.
How do I write an introduction for a myth?
Okay. I'm going to give you 1.5 minutes for you to write down why are introductions important. First place I should go to is probably the introduction, but why would an introduction be so important? What's the purpose of it? Okay, so let's see some of your responses.
Introductions are important because they elaborate on what the reader is going to read about.
I wanted to say, yep, that you're correct, the importance of introductions. So remember that an introduction helps readers understand what they're going to read about. Give all the details, because if you give a lot of details, then that becomes more of a summary and not an introduction. So when we kind of looked at some of the text that we've read before, we identified what was present in this introduction. We also took some time to write an introduction to Gluscave and Old Man Winter.
In a small northern village, there lived Gluscave and his grandmother.
So what did we learn from just by reading this introduction?
I got out that Gluscave likes to help people.
Help people. Would that make you interested in reading this myth just because Gluscave likes to help people?
Kind of.
Kind of, maybe, maybe not, right? So let's see somebody else that can share out.
Possibly somebody to help me.
Yes, of course. So today we're going to be writing an introduction to Cannibal Monster. So we're going to do this together. order for me to remember a little bit about what Cannibal Monster was about, I'm going to go back to my drama organizer just to refresh my memory on what this play was about. So the first thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to name the actual text that I'm going to be writing an introduction. And I remember that Cannibal Monster is a myth about the consequences when people don't listen to wise advice. To me, it sounds interesting, and I think it's something that is important. So, moving on, what are some key components that introductions need to include? Oh, I like how someone is writing that you can end your response with a question. Some key components is to give interesting facts, Jalea, because it makes it seem like a mystery that they need to solve. So today's task, when you go off to work, so when you go to your task today, right, I included drama organizer that we worked on together. Are there any questions on today's task? Jalea, I will meet you on your Google document and we can work on the introduction together. So let's see some of your responses. What I liked is how we all made an introduction. That was very interesting.